We've received no information, no updates. If there's been any direct outreach, I'm unaware of it.
Kentucky's senior U.S. Senator has now spent weeks receiving hospital care. For much of this time, his office has not disclosed much information about Mitch McConnell's prognosis. This is Wave News at 11. I'm Jose Sosaya. The publishing of new 911 audio suggests McConnell was found unconscious at his home in Washington, D.C. the morning he was hospitalized. Wave News reporter Meredith Lee has been talking to Kentucky leaders about what they know and what they're still trying and waiting to find out, Meredith.
Yeah, Jose, McConnell's health has come up before. He's dealt with multiple falls, a concussion, and 2 on-camera freezes that some neurologists later suggested may have been seizures. And he was hospitalized earlier this year for flu-like symptoms. McConnell has not been seen publicly since June 14th. That, combined with how little his office has chosen to share in the weeks since, are the conditions that have lawmakers here in Kentucky concerned. For much of the past 2 weeks, Kentuckians haven't known much about whether Senator Mitch McConnell is still in the hospital or been given a clear update on why he needed medical care. The senator's office confirmed his hospitalization June 14th, only saying he was receiving excellent care, and then largely went quiet. There have been few updates on his condition since then, and now Wave News has obtained emergency dispatch audio from the morning of June 14th from a home address linked to Senator McConnell in Washington, D.C. that raises serious questions about what happened.
Medical paramedic agent 3, medic 3, ALS response unconscious.
East Army supervisor, CPR in progress.
EMS 2 response for cardiac arrest.
McConnell's office has not addressed the audio or confirmed the circumstances of his hospitalization. Thursday afternoon, Governor Andy Beshear was asked about McConnell's status at his weekly Team Kentucky press conference.
Well, his office hasn't communicated with me. If he's been in the hospital for several weeks, they need to communicate more directly. I don't even know if he's been in the hospital for several weeks.
Hours later, a spokesperson from McConnell's office released a news statement saying, quote, Senator McConnell appreciates the outpouring of support he's receiving while he continues his recovery in the hospital. The senator continues to improve and is working closely with his staff on Kentucky and Senate matters while the Senate is out of session. Charles Booker, the Democratic nominee running for McConnell's seat, sat down with Wave News to share his concerns, not as a candidate, he says, but as a Kentuckian.
In this moment, with so many questions swirling, this is not a time to make calculations about what comes next. For me, this is when we pray. This is when we come together as family, and that's why I asked the question as a Kentuckian, what's going on? Not to score points, but to say that we deserve to know.
But he adds that the lack of transparency from McConnell and his staff raises questions of how serious the situation really is.
I think we need to hear directly from Senator McConnell. We have been largely kept out in terms of what's going on with an emergency that took place, again, over 2 weeks ago. And my concern is that if he is not in the position to serve, what's happening here? And that's why I raise concerns of elder abuse. We need to know if our senator can complete his responsibilities for the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Republican Congressman Andy Barr, also running for McConnell's seat, released a statement saying, quote, Kentucky is praying for a speedy recovery for Senator McConnell. We are grateful for his service to the Commonwealth. McConnell's 7th and final term ends in January, and as of now, there's no timeline for his return. Meredith Lee, Wave News.